If you don't have something that you desire, you don't yet feel worthy of it. Once you feel worthy of it, comes into being, into actualization, into manifestation super quick. There's a lot to be done to help you live into a sense of worthiness for yourself. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Unstoppable Woman podcast. I'm Amira Alvarez. I'm the founder and CEO of the Unstoppable Woman and also your host here on the podcast. So thank you so much for joining us. Today, we are diving into the 6th episode in our series on captivating power. This is our final episode. If you're just tuning in, please just lean into this episode. You can listen in without having listened to the first 5, but the first 5 are quite powerful and you may want to go back to listen to them. I recommend you doing so. The first one was on what is captivating power. Then we talked about elegance and strength and tapping into that internal feminine strength that you have. We talked about the conditioned state of doing, how to break free of that, the art of surrender in leadership, and the invitation to transform. In this episode, we're talking about actualizing your desires, what it takes to do that and step into it so that you can have your exquisite life. Everyone's exquisite life is a different version. We're all unique. What is yours? Let's talk about how you claim that and actualize your desire. So let's talk about this idea of desire. Can you just desire whatever you want and get it? Does it just like, oh my God, I want that and it falls from the sky? Well, no, it doesn't quite work that way. But desire is actually very, very key to creating what you want. It's the thing that causes you to act. Without it, we don't act. We need desire. Desire is causative. That's one of the things that I teach my clients. It's the motivation for creation. And oftentimes we get looped into overaction, meaning thinking that we have to do more to create what we desire. And then the flip side is underaction, meaning we just think we throw our hands up in the air and we say, well, I want it, it must manifest now. And neither of those two things is actually accurate. And I want to talk about this middle way and how you actually actualize desire. A few more things before I get into the nitty-gritty on that. I want to talk about desire as a concept a little bit first. So from a nature perspective, from a biological perspective, we have something called the dopamine network, which is the part of us, the chemical that says, get out of bed and go do something. Okay. Go find water, go find food for yourself. We wouldn't be motivated to go do those things if we didn't have this dopamine cycle that says, if you go get this, you'll satisfy this desire. Okay. And it calls us forward. And you can look at this, like we wouldn't get out of bed. We wouldn't do anything, whether it's taking care of your kids or huge impact in this world, like building a multi-million-dollar business or changing the condition of health of a whole society. You might have some big desires as well as small desires, like I want a glass of water. But we need that sort of desire to go do things in this world. And nature has given us dopamine to help us with that. Now, this can go off the rails. The shadow side of dopamine is addiction and getting addicted to things that don't serve you, anywhere from drug addiction to, porn addiction, video addiction. People are addicted to all sorts of things, including being addicted to work. And some of these addictions, like being addicted to work, are actually supported by our society because they show us where, if you work really hard, you're grinding it out, but you actually get ahead in a lot of ways. Most of my clients actually love that part of them that knows how to create and do and be successful and loves the work, loves what they're doing. They just want to expand their experience more and not feel so addicted to it, not feel so trapped by it, not feel like that's the only way they can show up or the only part of them that's valued. They want to be seen and recognized for the whole of who they are, not just what they can do. So desire is a big piece to actualization, but there can be this shadow side. I also want to speak to this. Sometimes people think about Buddhism and saying, isn't desire bad? I want to share something that's near and dear to me. It's an invitation to you, the high achiever. Now, you're not just any ambitious woman. You're already walking a journey of exceptional success. You're getting ahead, but ultimately making a trade. Your ambitions or a truly exquisite life. What if you no longer had to barter a full life for a life full of success? Welcome to Captivating Power, our 2024 Exquisite experience. This is not just any leadership training. This is a fully lived experience of the principles you're learning in this podcast series and so much more. Join me for a very intimate journey to Paris and Venice aboard the Orient Express, designed exclusively for 6 remarkable women. We're only running this program once, and with only 3 spots remaining, our journey is already 50% full. For more information and to secure your spot, go to theunstoppablewoman.com/join. Because there is this way of speaking about it that says you shouldn't desire anything. And that's not actually accurate. It's attachment to the desire that is inaccurate. And also this is confusing. We need desire as inspiration, as motivation, as hope, as a reason for growth. In fact, it's part of your more life directive, right? What you're put on this earth to do, and your spiritual growth is through this lane of desire. But if you are attached and focused on only one way that comes in, or it looking like a particular outcome, or that your happiness is dependent on that achievement, then you're in trouble. And that's where Buddhism comes in and says, don't be attached to the desire. And there's a lot of truth to that. It's a nuanced perspective, because then you have to think, well, where does perseverance come in and determination come in? And we have to look at that. Each individual situation you have to look at uniquely and have a nuanced approach to it, and use your discernment to know whether this is a time where I need to stick with my clear desire as it's defined here in your mind and persevere and be determined and hold on to that, or whether you need to expand it or make it more narrow. That comes through a lived experience. That comes through actually understanding how to work with your desire and how to actualize desires. So the first thing you need to know when you're looking at desire and how to create authentically in alignment with your true self is you need to claim your true desires. And it seems so obvious, but so many of us don't do that. We say, I'm only worthy of this. That's what I should claim. I'm only capable of this. This is what I've done up until now. That's what I should claim. I haven't proven myself, so I can't claim this bigger thing. I'll be disappointed if I claim a bigger goal and I don't achieve it. What will people think if I claim this bigger desire and then either I achieve it or I don't achieve it? There's shame embedded. The possible shame is embedded in both of those scenarios. There's so many things that keep people from claiming their big desires. It's a form of feeling like an imposter, like, who am I to want that? And that is fundamentally an issue of worthiness. And this is really sneaky for super ambitious, driven women, because most of the time they're like, yeah, I don't have a worthiness issue. I'm worthy of what I want. I've claimed this big goal. I'm going for it. This is what I want. And there's no sense of unworthiness here. And yet, oftentimes when I dig in and I really get to the heart of what someone wants, they don't feel worthy of that. And that's because there's a core wound. There's a sensitive underbelly that says, I'm not allowed to have that. I can have everything else. I can push myself in this bigger direction. I can challenge myself in these ways. I can set big goals. But this thing over here, I'm not worthy of having that because that's where my core wound is. And I don't see myself. I don't have an identity, a self-image that says I'm allowed, I'm worthy of having that. And it's different for everyone. Of course, there's commonalities, there's places of overlap for people, but yours is going to be unique. And there is something that if you know that you want more out of your life, you're like thinking, life is pretty good in these areas, but this, I'm feeling some unrest over here. I'm feeling like a lack of satisfaction. I don't feel fully connected, whole. I don't feel delighted with my life. I don't feel like I'm living a truly exquisite life. You probably love your business. You probably love your team. You're probably jamming on all cylinders and going for it. But there's this thing that comes up. I don't know what it is for you until I actually talk to you. But there's this thing that comes up for you in the quiet moments, probably after you complete a project and you're between things. Things are pretty good. You haven't, set the next challenge up for yourself or like tried to solve the next problem that's there. There's this quiet moment that says, oh, wait, I want this in my life, or I'm unsatisfied here, but it's too painful to look at in depth because it's a core wound and you haven't been able to solve it with your existing skill set and you haven't been able to really deal with it. So you just go back to being busy, go back to your lane that you feel fully competent in, and you just go for that and you drive that. Okay. If you'd like to go deeper on the steps for actualizing your desire, we've put together some journal prompts for you that you can just download at theunstoppablewoman.com/captivating. So you just go there. It's totally free and you can download these journal prompts. This may not look to you like a worthiness issue on the surface, and yet it is, because if you don't have something that you desire, you don't yet feel worthy of it. Once you feel worthy of it, man, comes into being, into actualization, into manifestation super quick. So there's a lot to be done to help you live into a sense of worthiness for yourself. These are all signs for you. These are like key, large neon signs that are shouting at you, oh, I need to deal with it. Now you have this awareness, okay? Anything that you desire that you haven't yet created is some form of a worthiness issue. This doesn't mean that you need to feel bad about yourself. There's no feeling bad necessary here. We just need to work through it. So I have things that I'm still creating, that I still desire. Of course, this is my life. I want to continue to create. There's no limits, right? And anything that I haven't created, I have not yet lived into. I don't have, I haven't really actualized my worthiness around this. And so we have to break through at every level, every time we're going for more. And there's a methodology to this. Obviously, awareness comes first. Okay, you have this awareness. Then you have to have the knowledge of what to do about it. And there's so many things that you need to do. One of them is to unpack this core wound and really see it. One thing is to set up a new identity for yourself. That doesn't mean, just to be super, super clear, I'm not talking about fake it till you make it. I'm not talking about becoming someone you're not. I'm saying, who is the person who actualizes what she desires? And how am I not that yet? This is an important piece that you need to learn. Let's look at this. Say you desire to scale your business significantly this year. Okay. And you've got your business model and your business plans, and you've dialed in so much of that logic side, the practical side, the execution side on this 3D plane that we live in. And you're looking at it and it almost gets you there, or it's sort of there, maybe not quite, or maybe it does get you there. Then you have to ask the question, who would I need to be someone to create that? What kind of leader would you have to be? How would you have to show up for your team? How would you have to show up for the world? How would you have to show up in your personal life to allow that to happen in your business life? How would you have to show up in your business life? Maybe it's a personal goal that you're going for, right? How would you need to be in this world? This is such a key question to ask yourself. So for instance, if let's say you want to bring a technology to the masses, you're going to have to get really good at interviewing on spots on shows, podcasts, all those things. There are practical skills to that. But if you haven't ever done that and you are, let's say you have a fear of being criticized, I'm making this very simplistic, then you would need to be someone who was fine with being criticized, like able to show up in this world in a different way. Okay. So that was a very simplistic example. You're going to need to find your own actual places where you need to grow. This is all about growth. Once you have grown into being that person through the action, through the lived experience, you will make manifest what you desire. Okay. But we think it's only about doing, in this example, doing the interviews, but you actually have to learn to be that person. Okay. And this is where I teach imagination and I teach the power of creating through your thought and being that person in advance of taking the action. So we have the skill of imagination. That's super important to learn. You also have to learn the skill of tapping into source, tapping into infinite intelligence, spirit, the universe, this incredible energy and power that exists. And when you tap into it, you have the ability to create and actualize whatever you desire. And how do we tap into that? Well, meditation is a huge piece. I've learned a particular kind of meditation that's been incredibly powerful for me, but there are other ways to tap in as well. And this is one of the things I love to teach people. You have to plug into this source that is a greater power than you can affect on this 3D plane of the senses. So we're used to making things happen through our doing of stuff. And that requires that we work with the time frame that we have and the time that we have, that everyone has the 24 hours in a day, and you're working one thing at a time. And yes, you can learn how to leverage. That was one of the big things that I've learned in business is, how to leverage and do bigger things with the amount of time that you have. That's huge, but that's still working on this 3D plane of the senses. When you start tapping into the quantum, which is a whole nother conversation, but something I love to teach. When you start tapping into the quantum, you can compress time, meaning you can create more in a shorter period of time, because it's not you doing it through the actions of this 3D world. It's not taking action on this 3D world, but it's plugging into the order of the universe that allows you to put your intention in there, put your desire in there, and get solutions that you could not possibly think of yourself. The ways and the means come to you in a way that you could not possibly have imagined yourself. And that shortcuts your ability to create what you desire. So that's a huge skill set to learn. The next step is a lived experience of putting this all together. A lived experience is so important to actualizing your desires. You have to live into things. It cannot just be an intellectual thought. It can't just be knowledge. Knowledge that's not applied is anything but power. You've heard the expression, knowledge is power, but actually it's knowledge that's applied that is power. And to apply it, you need to have a lived experience that causes you to apply this knowledge in a new way that breaks the habit, that is different than how you have been going about your life. And this is really what our Captivating Power program is all about. So if you're interested in that, please definitely check that out. Go to theunstoppablewoman.com/captivating. You can find out so much more about that program and stepping into it. It is a small, intimate group of leaders, all women. It's 50% full at the time of recording this. And there are only 6 women who will be on this trip with me so that I can give you the personalized attention that you desire. And we can go deep on all the topics that matter to you so that you can have your breakthrough and actualize your full desire. So this trip is a perfect example of a lived experience. But let's back up and talk about lived experiences in general, because this trip is giving you a lived experience that is outside of your normal everyday routine, which allows you to break through in a different way, right? It allows you to not be in your habitual way of being. And because of that, we can access change more easily. But let's say you're not on this trip. How do you access a lived experience? What would that look like for you? Well, this is where most people actually fail themselves because they don't apply the knowledge at the next level. They turn around because the thing that they're wanting to live into triggers their core wound, triggers a sense of almost terror. And it causes them to turn around, go in a different direction, go in a direction that is known already. So instead, in that moment where you feel fear, where you're saying, this feels wrong, this does not feel right, this is too challenging for me, you have to lean into it and take the action anyway. Now, that's a simplistic way of putting it. Take the action anyway. Do the thing. Face your fear, do the thing. But it's more nuanced than that. You have to figure out how to solve for what is challenging you. And that requires you doing some deep work. So let's say you're challenged by something and you don't know what's stopping you. That's a perfect place to get help. But you can also just do some journaling on what your big fears are. What is the fear that's coming up for you? And a really interesting kind of cheat on this or way to help you with this is to ask, and what are you making that mean? Let's say you're afraid of looking foolish on camera. What's the fear underneath that? Why are you afraid of that? Okay. And so then you answer, okay, well, I'm afraid of looking foolish on camera because I think people are going to judge me. So what are you making that mean? Like, why are you afraid of people judging you? Well, if people judge me, they might not like me. Okay. Well, if they don't like me, what's important about that? Right. And you keep digging underneath until you get to something that feels like, oh, that's my big fear. And then you have to go about solving that and then living into the thing that is challenging you. That's some deep work, but you do have to do the thing. Sometimes it feels like ripping off the Band-Aid, right? You just have to do the thing. And the quicker you do it, the better. But knowing that that's what you're afraid of and that you're not going to die, right? Telling yourself, yeah, that's my fear, but I know that I'm resilient. I know that I'm not going to die is super important. And when you start doing this and doing it in areas where you currently don't feel confident. So most super successful women who are, executives or running their own businesses, they're like, yeah. I know how to feel the fear and do it anyways. I do that every freaking day. But you're doing it in the lane that you have competency in. What I'm asking you to do it in is in a lane that you don't yet feel competent in. And that's where the big fears come up. And we have to work through what those are, give you a reframe on the identity, and ask you to live into that. Okay. When you do that, things change hugely. And now I want to add one piece to this, because most women who I work with are, like I've been saying, are really competent. They're really fully agile and functional in a particular lane. But there's this other lane that isn't as well, that they're not as well versed in. And part of that is the lane that allows you to have a fully lit up, exquisite life. And it's when we are tapped into the sensuality of life, that every moment has this beauty and even eroticism, that every moment has this sexual energy. I'm not talking about short skirts and high heels, though if you like that, that's great. I have plenty of those myself. But I'm talking about like there's a life force to life, eroticism to life, that is when this side of you that has masculine energy comes together with the side of you that has feminine energy, and it creates this juiciness, this aliveness of life, and it's exquisite. The sweetness is exquisite. And when you tap into your power, right, your captivating power and that sensual life force, you can tap into that life force that's in everything in life. Every moment can feel that alive. And am I there 100% of the time? No, I don't know that anyone is there 100% of the time. But am I there so much more than I ever was? Absolutely. And I want to bring that kind of lived experience to you so that you have an experience of that while you are doing your whole life, your business and your personal life, so that it's fulfilling, not hurry up, get through all of this so that later I can feel good. Okay. And what happens when you have these kinds of lived experiences, whether it's facing an identity issue, whether it's facing a risk and learning how to lean into your own authority or trust, or it's having a lived experience of a more tapped in sensual life, is that you then take these experiences to the rest of your life. So the singular experience that you have then informs everything that you do. You can't undo that experience. It transforms you. You become a bigger version of yourself, one that is worthy of that next level desire that you wish to actualize. That's what we're doing with the Captivating Power program. It is about giving you multiple lived experiences of an exquisite life, of a way of tapping into yourself, to life, to your life force again and again and again, so that you can go back into your, I'm going to put quotes around this, regular life, but I hope it's not regular ever again, with this experience in your body. You will be embodied now, right? You will have this inside of you so that you can live it throughout your life, the rest of your life, the way you lead your team, the way you build your business, the way you hold conversations, the way you have relationships. This is what we're doing with the Captivating Power program. It's giving you this lived experience of an exquisite life. If this Captivating Power program is speaking to you, I invite you to go to our details page to read more about it. You can go to theunstoppablewoman.com/captivating. All the details are there. And your next step would be filling out an application and we'll take it from there. Thank you so much for joining us for this captivating power series. This has been a series of 6 podcasts. Go back and listen to them all if you desire. They've built on each other, but also are standalones. And there are different bonus content for each of the episodes that you can find at theunstoppablewoman.com/captivating. And as part of this series and concept, I just want to really encourage you to lean into this material and start owning your power. Start claiming your power so that you can actualize your exquisite life, because it's time to start living exquisitely. It's not either or, it's not for later, it's for now. Your time is now. So with that, I'm Amira Alvarez. I'm the founder and CEO of The Unstoppable Woman. Thank you again for joining us. Thank you for being a loyal listener. Please subscribe. Please like this podcast wherever you have listened to it. If you can share it with a woman who you think would find value from it, that would super duper help us. And if you could give it a review, 5 stars would be amazing. That helps us so much in bringing this material to many people and really growing the audience for the podcast. And I would be incredibly grateful for that. Okay, with that, have an amazing day and live exquisitely.